We're recording. Good morning, everyone. If you're watching this live, if you're watching the recording, I hope you are enjoying your day as well. So great to see you all saying hello in the chat. My name is Sam Bowers. I'm the consultant for continuing education at the State Library of Iowa. My colleague, Janeé Jackson-Doring, youth services consultant, joining me as well. I'm sure she'll introduce herself a little bit later on as well. So we are just so pleased to be here today talking about summer reading book lists for all ages. So Janeé, do you want to talk us through the agenda?
Yes, good morning, everybody. As Sam said, my name is Janeé Jackson-Doring. I'm the Youth Services Consultant with the State Library of Iowa. Our plan today is on your screen. Sam is going to cover picture books, so think of your read alouds and browsable nonfiction titles. I am going to be covering middle grade books, which in this case, it's geared for grades third through eighth. Then I will cover some teen books, and I'm just going to cover an array of themed books that are geared for ages 12 to 18. So when we talk teen, that is exactly the age range that we're going for today. Sam will cover also adult books, and it's going to be a smidgen, and literally a smidgen. I love that word, smidgen of everything in 7 to 8 minutes. Let's see if she can do it. And also, we're also going to share some display and decor ideas. And it's kind of like a mix, a sampling of book displays and decor ideas that you can do to make your library as colorful and bright for Level Up at your library.
I did a quick count yesterday, and I think we've got over 40 books that between the two of us that we crammed onto these next 40 books, and my count says 40 slides. So we'll see how we do flying through here. So we thought to introduce ourselves, it would be fun if we both shared our favorite game. Janeé did kind of cheated. She didn't really pick a board game. It's kind of a different kind of game, but
I'm
you like
sorry,
those categories, Janeé.
I'm old school. I love word games and I love games where you have to think of words really fast. Categories was my jam growing up as a kid. It's still my jam. I've played it with teens, I've played it with other adults. Lots of fun. And especially when you get the double words like wacky waters or something, you get those double points. So, yeah.
I like categories too. I shouldn't tease you too much. We just played it the other night with some friends and I cleaned house. I like any game I can win at. I'm too competitive, which probably isn't going to surprise anybody. But recently, my husband and I have been very into playing this game, which is called Parks. It's from Keymaster Games. We have an expansion for it. There's a second edition out that my husband is drooling over. It's the same game, but with new art. So there you go. That's fun. But my husband mostly gets sidetracked by the pretty pictures, and I mostly, march down the trail and take names. So there we go. That's my favorite game. And if I play a game with you, I do hope I win. So as we mentioned, we are highlighting these books that are related to the summer reading theme, which is Level Up at your library. And you might think that we have big, beautiful brains, which we do, obviously. But we did not come up with all of these level up themed books on our own. In fact, there is in the resource guide, which many of you, I imagine, have downloaded at this point, if not all of your libraries have downloaded it. There is a resource part of that downloadable that is called the bibliographies and other resources. So I want to hear from the room at large. I just launched a poll. If you were to pull up the PDF, how many pages worth of bibliography would you find there? Let's see. The consensus building up here around to maybe 11 to 20. I'm going to click end poll. Let's see, so 50% of folks say there's 11 to 20 pages worth of bibliographies, and then 21 to 30 is our next top getter, and that is the answer. There are 28 pages worth of bibliographies in this thing. And so I think in our description for this webinar, we pegged it as the best kept secret of the resource guide. And I honestly think I have a copy printed out here in front of me. If I was running a summer reading program, I would sit down with this list and my catalog and a highlighter and start pulling books for some displays or programming or other things. I also want to point out that in the programming section, you're going to, if you read through the program details, so here's a program about a animal scavenger hunt. It's going to actually have some titles baked right into some of that programming ideas for you as well. So I think you'll find a ton of good stuff in the bibliographies, and the more time you spend getting into the nuts and the bolts of prepping for a program, you're going to find more books there too. Victoria, you don't get a prize just for getting it correct, although I'm very proud of you. You get my undying love and admiration. But somebody at the end is going to get a prize pack of books. Janeé pulled together a prize pack, so I don't mean to over share too soon, but there is a prize for somebody. I also want to point out, so I said that this section of the resource guide was called Bibliographies and Other Resources. Once you get through all those bibliographies, you're also going to find coding resources, a music playlist, something called binge boxes. I don't know, you go read it and figure out what that means. 10 great games beyond Dungeons and Dragons, 3D printed games, games for teens, cooperative games, Spanish games. So if you're feeling like I just don't know what to have around in my library this summer, this is going to be a great place to go look and get some ideas. Victoria says my undying love and admiration is enough of a prize. She's very kind. Okay, so as we go through today, as I mentioned, Janeé and I are going to have over 40 books to share with you. We do have these all on the slides, and we will have a Word version or a version of the book list with just titles and ISBNs that we're going to post into Workday as well. But if, as we go through today, you think of titles that you want to share that we have not mentioned, we did make a Padlet. So when you pull this up, let me just maybe do that quick actually. When you pull this up, you're going to see different columns for the different sections that we've identified. And you can go ahead and click this plus button and add in your own favorite titles here as well. So I put the link in the chat. We've got this link a few times as we go through today. Janeé, anything else you want to say by way of introduction? I've been talking a lot.
Yes, definitely. Please look at these bibliographies. As you can see, my pages are highlighted like crazy. But also check out those best games for teens other than Dungeons and Dragons. For some of you, I heard, I don't know how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I don't want to teach it. Guess what? There's other games that you can play with your kids and teens. So really take a peek at those. And especially for those that are working with Spanish speakers, look at those Spanish games that you can offer in that language for your patrons. If you have not received the resource guide or you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, I haven't received any instructions, please email me. I will send you those instructions, and please download the resource guide and graphics by June 1st. After June 1st, that code expires. So please get to email me ASAP.
I'm going to put Janeé's email in the chat, but it's janae.jackson-doring@iowa.gov. If you're watching the recording, you can also find her contact information on our website. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good on time, if I remember right.
I think we are.
And if we're not,
Yikes.
off track early. Buckle up. Okay, so I get to talk about picture books. You guys don't hear me do book talks very often, so Janeé's taking notes. She's going to critique me at the end. But again, there are several pages and many different categories of different types of picture books that are going to be a lot of fun this summer. So with this level up theme, one of the first places that we headed here was interactive picture books. Books to tap, touch, move, and play. And two of my favorites from this list were Play This Book by Jessica Young It's such a cute little book. The very first page has you strumming an air guitar. So what's not to love? But the opening rhyme is, we're going to have a show today. These instruments can't wait to play. To start our show, we need a band. Maybe you can lend a hand. So this is going to be so much fun for a story time, really for any age, I think. Even older kids are going to have a lot of fun pretending to play drums, pretending to play guitar, shaking shakers, playing the trombone. So I really think that this is great. Also, I think it comes with really thick tagboard pages, which is going to make a story time stand out of this book for sure. Bright, colorful illustrations with diverse representation throughout the book. So I think this would be a really fun story time interactive playbook. The other one that we've had a ton of fun with in my house since I checked it out from the library for this webinar is Crunch the Shy Dinosaur by Sirocco Dunlap. The picture's by Greg Pizzoli, which is a name you're going to recognize. Crunch would like to play, but he's too shy to come out of the bushes. So the reader interacts with Crunch to get him out. At one point, you get to sing Happy Birthday, which is going to be really fun. I also think that there's some fun interactions in friend making here, some fun lessons in friend making. Sometimes you have to let the shy dinosaur come to you at their own pace. Like all of Pizzoli's illustrations, really engaging, just lots of fun. I see some love for Crunch in the chat as well. So two great read aloud storytime options. Another section of picture books in the bibliography is called Puzzling Mystery Picture Books. The Berry Cheer Sandwich by Jane Sarcone Roach. Such cute illustrations, a really fun painted style. In a story time, it's going to be a little hard to catch the nuance of the pictures, but the plot is here we have a very earnest puppy narrator informs a little girl that a bear, yes, a bear, ended up in the city, ate her sandwich, and before wandering back to the forest. So we maybe get the sense that our puppy narrator might not be quite as reliable as we might have hoped, but as I was flipping through some of the programming ideas, there's a program called Preschool Farm Mystery that includes a very, very old read aloud. If you're not able to get your hands on a copy of that book that they mentioned for that program, this could be a fun animal mystery picture book to read if you're going to do that program. The next one I have on this list is called Not an Alphabet Book, The Case of the Missing Cake by Owen McLaughlin, illustrated by Mark Budavant. So we have Mr. Bear here. You can see him on the cover. He's trying to track down the cake thief. C is for cake. And page after page, we can't figure out who the culprit is until he gets to P is for pig. And Mr. Pig protests his innocence, but he's going to get thrown into U is for universe until W is for walrus points out that he saw Mr. Bear eating the cake himself. This is a fun one for reading with maybe in a smaller group. Not a great storytime book. It's kind of long, but kids and families are going to love finding all the little clues along the way that maybe point out that Mr. Bear is not quite as innocent as we think he's going to be, as he thinks he is anyway. So tons and tons of picture books about games and puzzles also included. I have to say this Sports and Fantastic Fun is translated from German by an author named Ole Konecki. It's not exactly a storytime standout, but my 5-year-old has had so much fun reading this one at home. Cute illustrations, quippy text, and these younger elementary kids with an interest in sports are going to have so much fun with this one. Each page is a very brief and fun overview of common and uncommon sports. Super cute animals doing the sports throughout the whole thing. My favorite line from it was, fishing is fantastic fun, and mosquitoes think so too. So you see little animal fishermen getting bombarded by mosquitoes, which is my main experience with fishing, for sure. There's a field day program on page 259 of the resource guide. This would be a great one to have around if you're doing a field day type of program. Lucy Cousins is a very perennial storytime favorite, I think. She's got this newer one from 2022 called Let's Play Monsters. This is a really great read aloud, lots of great rhyme and rhythm. This little boy wants all his relatives to be a monster and chase him, and he says, he, but you can't catch me. And of course, the last page is Mom Monster catching him and putting him to bed, which is every parent's dream. So Mom Monster says, Monster kisses, 1, 2, 3, I love you, and you love me. So this is such a fun one if you're going to do a monster story time or a craft where you make your own monster. Such great ideas and lots of fun things here. And then I think these Jane Yolen books would also make a great story time program read aloud for a level up theme on play and games, what to do with a string, what to do with a stick, and what to do with a box. I think one of the books in our prize pack is from the Not a Box series, and that would also be a great one to include in some of these. So the last one I want to feature for games and play is called Do Not Eat the Game by Matthew McElligott. He wrote and illustrated this one. But there are a couple of like make your own game types of programs in the resource guide. And this would be a really fun one to include if you're going to do one of those programs. So there's a little girl who gets a board game out of the box and she's trying to follow all the rules. But the monsters won't follow the rules. So she makes her own game up and everyone has a great time. So you can see on the screen, I took a scan of one of the inside pages. It's a really great visual for kids who might want to design their own game. I have about a minute left in this section. The resource guide does include some coding books. The section's called Coding Books for Little Ones and Technology, STEAM, and Video Game Picture Books. Some great options there, but having a 5-year-old who's really into tech and nonfiction, I thought I'd grab some of our favorite titles from recently. The one on the far left is from a series called Simple Machines for Kids. These are really great, not really read alouds, but there isn't a ton of text per page, so they're pretty easy to get through. But great illustrations, very clear examples. This one's called Wheels Make the World Go Round. This Inner Workings book has way more text per page. And again, not going to be a great read aloud, but the illustrations are so good and some really great everyday objects explained here. This series from Abdo Press, which is My Community Vehicles, you see the garbage truck one on the screen right now. These would be read aloudable for a story time if you're doing a truck to truck kind of event or some sort of community helpers event this year. These are such accessible books, and there are some available in Spanish as well. And we love this series in our house. But our all-time favorite nonfiction, definitely not a read aloud though, are these books from What on Earth Publishers. They have the Big Book of Why, and now just out is the Big Book of How. But the pictures and the illustrations are so great. There's one really accessible block of text per page, and these are just our absolute favorite. So bonus section here, bonus photo here of my little engineer's magnetile run and magnetile marble run, and my dog sleeping on the couch, poised to jump off and knock it all over, which is my dog's very favorite pastime. So, wow, that was a few books in about 9 minutes. I'm going to put the Padlet back up. So if you've got other ideas besides anything that I mentioned you think would go along well with the level up at your library theme, feel free to add them to the Padlet. And Janeé is going to take us through middle grade and teen books.
That was impressive, Sam. Oh my goodness. And I love the picture of Judah's creation. Love it, love it, love it. Very impressive. So we are going to move to middle grade books. And when I say middle grade, this is going to be specifically for 3rd through 8th grades. So here we go. So, this section is stories inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. If you have fans of Dungeons and Dragons at your library, these books will fit the bill. The first one is called Just Roll With It. It is a graphic novel. It is written by Veronica Aguirre and Lee Durfee Lavoie. This is about Maggie. Maggie is starting 6th grade at middle school, and she struggles a lot with anxiety and OCD, and she loves Dungeons and Dragons. She loves playing it, and she uses her the 20-sided die to make decisions. So she uses this die to pick the right after school club. She uses the die to decide whether or not she should make a friend. But as you read the story, you and her realize that this 20-sided die, it doesn't always work when it comes to making decisions in real life. It's a realistic graphic novel, and the book draws from the author's own experiences navigating middle school and anxiety. The second book is called Roll for Initiative. This is a chapter book written by Jaime Formato, and this received starred reviews in Kirkus. And this is about Riley. Riley is 12, and she is always in her brother's shadow, Devin. Devin is very protective of her, and when Devin goes away to college, she starts to build her own independence by starting a Dungeons and Dragon club at her middle school. And she realizes more and more people want to join her D&D campaign. And so she's trying to figure out her own independence while stepping out of her brother's shadow. This has artwork inside the book, so there's pages with different artwork. This also is a realistic fiction title for middle schoolers. Sunny Rolls the Dice is a graphic novel. This is part of the Sunny series. This is book 3 in the series. It's written by Jennifer Holm and Matthew Holm, and this was a delight to read. I loved this historical graphic novel because it deals with Sunny. You see her grow throughout the last 2 books. She's growing up in 1977, and she wants to be like other seventh graders in 1997. She wants to be groovy. And her best friend Deb is into getting her ears pierced, shopping at the mall, wearing Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. You guys remember those jeans? Um, and Sunny is into that. Sunny wants to be a part of that. But when her classmates, a group of boys, invite Sunny and Deb to play Dungeons and Dragons, Sunny gets into the game. She loves it. She loves the world building. She loves the atmosphere. But her best friend Deb thinks it's kind of lame. She just really wants to go to the mall and, just be a popular girl. And so Sunny has to choose, do I play Dungeons and Dragons or do I become a popular girl? I think it's really relatable to middle school kids, whether it's in the 1970s or now. So definitely grab Sunny Rolls the Dice. And then D&D Dungeon Club Roll Call. This is the first book in the graphic novel series by Molly Knox Ostertag. And this is about 2 friends, Jess and Olivia. Jess and Olivia, they don't like middle school. They don't like all the drama and the pressure. And so to get away from that middle school madness, they play Dungeons and Dragons. And Olivia is the dungeon master, so she tells the story. And Jess is the member that just likes to play. But the two have conflicts when Olivia starts to invite more and more people from the middle school to play in their Dungeon and Dragons game. This has colorful illustrations, realistic fiction. There's 3 books in the series for the Dungeon Club, but definitely grab these for a Dungeons and Dragons display. And I will say one more thing with Sunny Rolls the Dice. I really appreciated that it explained all the characters of Dungeons and Dragons and the terms. And roll for initiative, that is a term used in Dungeons and Dragons because in the game you have to roll for initiative to move your character a certain way. So, with that, we're going to go to the next slide. The next group of books is called Can You Solve It? So, these are stories with puzzles, scavenger hunts, and escape rooms. So, this is page 477 of the resource guide. The book to your left the first one is called The Pathfinder Society, The Mystery of the Moon Tower. And that is by Francesco Sedita. And this is about Kyle. Kyle doesn't want to go to camp. He's just over camp. He just rather doodle and draw at home. But his mother thinks it's a great idea for him to go to camp and meet friends. And so he meets 4 other friends. And at this camp, they are teaming up to find a missing treasure. And finding this missing treasure is important because it could save the camp and it could save the property from being foreclosed. So the queens have to work together. They use maps, they use clues, and the book ends on a cliffhanger. So you have to read the second book to keep going. But this is the first book in the series. The middle book that is also it's also a first in the series is Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. I loved this book. This is written by Chris Grabenstein. This book is also available as a chapter book, and it's also available as a graphic novel. And with Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library, it focuses around Kyle. Kyle is 12. He loves the library. He loves to play games. And he's a big fan of Mr. Lemoncello, the game maker. So Kyle and 12 other kids are invited to spend the night in their town's new library with Mr. Lemoncello. And he has games and food and activities. They're all having a good time. So the next morning, they wake up to go home, only Kyle and his friends realize they're locked in the library. They can't get out. And so they have to solve puzzles, clues by Mr. Lemoncello in order to get out and escape. This would be a great book club selection. So, and that is also in the resource guide as well. The next book is called The Mystery of Locked Rooms, and that is written by Lindsay Curie, and it's about 12-year-old Sarah. Sarah and her friends, they love to play escape rooms. They like to get out of escape rooms and solve clues, and they really love math. But what Sarah is noticing is that her mother is worried because their house is going to be foreclosed if they don't have the money to pay for it. So Sarah is wondering what to do. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. But word is that there's an abandoned funhouse in town, and that abandoned funhouse might have a treasure. So she convinces her other friends to join her in this funhouse. And kids who are reading this, they have to solve the puzzles and clues in order for Sarah and her friends to find this treasure. Very realistic, very fun. I loved how Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library and The Mystery of Locked Rooms have had clues and puzzles for tweens to solve. So if you've got some tweens that love these types of books, get these and put them for display. The next set of books, excuse me, we have some middle grade mysteries in the top left corner. Excuse me. The first book is called When You Reach Me, and that is written by Rebecca Steed. And this is about Miranda. Miranda is a young girl that lives with her mom, and her mom has a boyfriend, and her mom is getting ready to appear on a game show called the $200,000 Pyramid. Does anybody remember that show? I do. I was so excited to see that. And while her mother's preparing for this show, Miranda starts to receive these mysterious notes and letters from an individual from another time. So that is a middle grade mystery that you can check out. Yes, I remember the $200,000 pyramid too. The other book to your right is The Parker Inheritance, and that is written by Varian Johnson. And sorry, I'm grabbing all my notes. I had so many notes that I wrote. Uh, the Parker Inheritance is about 12-year-old Candy. Candy spends her summer in Lambert, South Carolina. She finds a letter that her late grandmother referenced about regarding a treasure hunt in town. And Candy gets swept up into this mystery with her bookish friend Brandon. And so together they try to find an inheritance. And there's themes of racism in this book mixed in with puzzles and solving puzzles together. To your bottom right, we have some adventure and fantasy titles to check out as well. Um, Cardboard Kingdom is one of my favorite books. This is written by Chad Sell, and it's about a group of neighborhood kids. They get together with a whole bunch of cardboard and they turn their block into literally a cardboard kingdom. And the kids, they all dress in costumes and cosplay, and they get to become knights, rogues, thieves, robots, and they get to do this cosplay. But what I love about this book besides the illustrations are bright and colorful. Chad Sell does a great job of intertwining themes that the kids face. So in a way, the costumes are kind of like what it kind of helps them get away from what they're facing. Some of the kids in this book are facing bullying. Some of them are facing parent divorce. Some of them are facing gender stereotypes. It does a really good job of narrating, of going through these topics, but in a way that kids can understand and relate to. In the resource guide, the authors also referenced that the Cardboard Kingdom would be a great book club book for kids this summer. And also, at the same time, after you have that book club, you can have an activity where the kids could make their own Cardboard Kingdom. So just consider that if you are still trying to think of some ideas for your summer program. Also, the book next to Cardboard Kingdom is a new book in a series. This is called Dragon Forged: Sword of the Champion. This is a graphic novel written by Eric Lead, and it's about excuse me. On's life is uprooted when he discovers he is the reincarnation of a great hero, and this great hero is destined to defeat this person called Fiend Lord, just this evil villain. And so Owen realizes he's gonna need help. So he teams up with a sorceress to stop Fiend Lord. Lots of funny illustrations. It's action packed. If you have kids who love fantasy and that world building, you can grab these fantasy titles for them. We've got a
Okay,
Padlet
so
pause.
another opportunity to throw titles onto the Padlet for middle grades that you think people might like. I've been seeing some going up for picture books, so interested to see what else you guys have come up with here. And next is teen books.
Yes. So we're going to switch gears and move to teen books. And these are books that are geared for ages 12 to 18. In the top left corner, you'll have some puzzling mysteries that you can offer teens this summer. That list is on pages 486, or excuse me, page 486. Um, the first book in the top left corner is The Inheritance Games. This is part of a series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The book in the corner is the first book in the series, and it's about Avery. Avery wants to get out of town. She is tired of this town. She wants to get a scholarship, go to college, and leave. That is her plan. But the billionaire in town, Tobias Hawthorne, dies, and he leaves her with a whole bunch of money, all of the money from his estate. But there's always a catch. And in this case, the catch is she has to go through secret passages, solve puzzles and riddles, and face danger in order to get that money. So definitely grab Inheritance Games. Next to that is the Bletchley riddle. Excuse me. It's written by Ruta Sepetys, excuse me, and Steve Scheinikin, two powerhouse authors. And this is about Jacob and his sister Lizzie. Jacob and Lizzie, they arrive at the Bletchley Park home, which, if you know your history, Bletchley Park was the home for World War II code breakers. And they are working to decrypt messages from the Nazis and the Nazis' Enigma cipher, where they solve all these codes. And so the brother and sister have to work together in this historical novel to find out why their mom disappeared and where she disappeared to. And you can pair this book, The Bletchley Riddle, with The Enigma Girls by Candace Fleming. That is a powerhouse nonfiction book for teens about 10 teens who helped decipher codes during World War II. Powerhouse book. Great. Both of these are great book to pair. At the bottom, and I'm seeing a lot of from the comments. Yes, One of Us is Lying is awesome. This is the first book in the series written by Karen M. McManus. It's also a show on Peacock. Uh, and sorry for Christine, the Enigma title is called The Enigma Girls. The Enigma Girls. One of Us is Lying by Kieran and McManus is about these teens. Simon likes to spread gossip about teens, and there are five of them sitting in detention, and Simon mysteriously dies. And the other teens, you have a girl who's influenced about her beauty, you've got a drug dealer, you've got the jock, you've got a book nerd. They're the subject of Simon's gossip column. And so one of them is lying about what happened to Simon, and so you have to read to find out what happened to him. And I'll put the Enigma girls in in the chat too, so that way you guys know. There you go. So, also Promise Boys by Nick Brooks is awesome. It's about these group of students who are facing retaliation from a principal, and one of the students dies, and they have to figure out why this principal is so mean. Um, and it's three African American boys who are facing this challenge. So definitely get all of those books for your mystery section. I wanted to offer some sports novels because let's face it, you might have some teens that might like sports. They may just want to read a sports book, and that's okay. We want to make sure we're offering those titles as well. The first book is called, to your left, Cheer Up, Love and Pom Poms. That is written by Crystal Frazier, and it's an LGBTQ romance. It's about Annie. She's a antisocial lesbian. She is excuse me, she's starting her senior year of high school, and she's under pressure to join the cheerleading squad to make friends and round out her college applications. And BB is a people pleaser, and she's trying to be happy with her grades and trying to keep her parents happy with her grades and social life. And so these two rekindle a friendship that they thought they lost, and they work together on the cheerleading squad. So I'm gonna fix my screen real quick. Sorry, guys. There we go. Oh, excuse me. The other book, oh, by the way, Cheer Up is a graphic novel, by the way. It is fun, colorful, full of fun illustrations. So you can definitely grab Cheer Up, Love, and Pom Poms. The other book to your right is Resball by Byron Graves. This is an awesome title, and it is also our All Ira Reads title for 2025. It's about a young man named Trey who lost his brother in a car accident. His brother was the basketball star for the team in Minnesota, and he is asked by the coach to join the team, and they play to the championships. Very moving, fast-paced basketball scenes. It puts you right there in the game with the boys. But you see him grow up, you see him go through racism, trying to fit in, trying to live up to his brother's expectations, trying to to his parents' expectations. There is a movie called Resball. Bobby, I'm seeing your comment, but that is not tied to the book. I repeat, it is not tied to the book. It is a separate show. So, because I had that question too, so no worries. So definitely grab Cheer Up, Love, and Pom Poms and grab Resball. Okay, and we also have some Level Up game inspired books. If you want to see the whole list, check out page 485 for that list. Um, Five Nights at Freddy's. I know we've heard of Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie came out last year. There's a second one coming out this year. But it's good to get people aware of how did this book start? How did this thing started? So grab the comic book, Five Nights at Freddy's, The Silver Eyes. It's written by Scott Cawthon, who created the Five Nights at Freddy's series. But what happens is there's a group of kids that grew up together. They meet 10, 15 years later, and they go to this showbiz-like pizza place entity that has closed. They break in just to see how everything, see how it's looking, even though it's closed up. And the animatronic animals come to life. And these guys aren't fun. They are scary. If you thought Showbiz Pizza Place animatronic animals were scary, check out Fozbear and all the other creepy critters that come after these grown-up teens. But check out The Silver Eyes for Five Nights at Freddy's by Scott Cawthorn. In the middle, there is a book called Warcross. It is by Marie Lu. This is an awesome, awesome fantasy sci-fi book, and it's about Erica Chen. Erica Chen is a bounty hunter, and she's just trying to make ends meet. She is just stuck. She's taking any type of bounty job she can get, but she hacks herself into the Warcross Championships, and she has to play the game in order to survive. There is a second book in the series as well, but this is fast-paced fantasy, fast-paced action, science fiction for teens. And then the final book is Slay. Slay is written by Brittany Morris, and it centers around Kira. Kira is an honor student at Jefferson Academy, and she plays a secret multiplayer game called Slay that celebrates Black culture. But in the game, she faces racism from another opponent. So definitely grab these three books for your collection. And I love it. Mallory says Slay is fantastic. Wonderful. I really liked this set of books for this section, Play to Win No Matter the Cost. Um, this is pages 485 and 46 in the guide. The only thing I was kind of shocked at, it didn't add the Hunger Games. So add the Hunger Games to this bibliography set because the Hunger Games fits that bill so perfectly with Katniss winning or going into the Hunger Games to try to survive and take care of her sister no matter the cost. Their Vicious Games in the middle is by Joelle Wellington. It's about a young woman who enters into this game for money, and her and these other girls are competing in this rich, entitled game. And what you think is, oh, she's going to win this money so she can go to college and she can clear her name. But what these girls are really competing for at the very end is not money. It's a hand in marriage to this rich, entitled billionaire's son, which this girl's not having it. And when I read this, it felt like Squid Game for teens. So think bloody brawls, action packed, just really, really just vicious cutthroat games. And then the third book is called Thieves Gambit. And that, I have to grab my notes. Thieves Gambit is written by Kavion Lewis. This book is about 17-year-old Ross. Ross is from the Bahamas. She's Bahamian, and she wants out of being a thief. Her family is used to thieving and conning, and she wants out of that life. She's like, I'm not down for it anymore. I want to be out. So, in order to help her mother, who is ill, she enters the Thieves' Gambit, and it's basically dangerous heists, a series of them. And she has to decide, in order to win this grand prize, who does she con and who does she trust in order to get out of this life. Next slide, please. Oh, and we're up to a Padlet.
Next, I'm clicking too many times. Next up is a Padlet pause. So what teen books would you love to add? Janeé added Hunger Games, obviously. And I do think I was going to mention as we move into adult titles, one of the kind of fun things, I don't know if it's a plus or a minus, so that probably makes it a neutral, about the bibliographies here is that you are going to find some, in my opinion, extraordinarily old titles on this list. Titles that if they haven't circled in your library are definitely going to have been weeded. And I found that to be particularly true in the adult section, but this is also a great opportunity to get some oldies off the shelf and bring some interest back, maybe revive revive some interest through some fun themed displays and that sort of thing. But there could be things that you may have already pulled and gotten rid of. In that case, there's going to be new stuff out there. So do take a look around. Okay, the first section I want to highlight as we move into the adult pages of the resource guide, on page 490 to 491 is a section of books called Educator and Librarian Resources for Games and Gaming. So 3 of these titles actually are available in the State Library catalog. 52 ready-to-use gaming programs for libraries, escape rooms, and other immersive experiences in the library, and Let's Roll, a guide to setting up tabletop and role-playing games in your school or public library. All of these seem really practical, really hands-on. If you're on the fence about gaming-related programming this summer, it could be a great place to start. In particular, we've talked a lot today and in other webinars about Dungeons and Dragons. It fits the theme, the level up theme so well. But if you have no experience like yours truly with Dungeons and Dragons, this Let's Roll is truly going to be a step-by-step guide and case studies from other libraries about playing D&D in the library. And if you are already running a D&D program in your library and you want some things to freshen it up a bit, the manual also mentions this book called The Lazy DM's Companion, DM standing for Dungeon Master. It's pretty cheap. You can actually download it right as a PDF. It's only a few dozen pages. It's got 4.9 stars on Amazon, this little book does, which is almost unheard of. So if you've got a D&D club going and you want to spice things up a little bit or change things up a little bit for the summer, this could be a good stop for you. I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through the rest of these, but if you want to do some game-based programming, check those out this summer. All right. The other thing you're going to find in the adult section of the resource guide, I almost said the adult section of the cookbook, is cookbooks. There are a gazillion cookbooks mentioned in this section of the resource guide. I have some of them on the screen. I am not going to talk about them, but there are cookbooks for Dungeons and Dragons, Pokemon. Who needs a Pokemon cookbook? I don't know. Halo, Animal Crossing. You remember the Animal Crossing game? I had forgotten about it. Mario, Magic the Gathering, Minecraft, Game of Thrones, Tolkien cookbook, Sonic the Hedgehog, so many cookbooks. There's also a lot of food-based programming featured in other sections of the resource guide. So there's a retro video game night. You could definitely encourage people to bring Mario-themed treats or Sonic-themed treats for something like that. There's D&D at the library, which is featured in the resource guide. There's Super Mario Bingo. There's a Mario interactive movie in the resource guide. All these programs are going to pair so well with some of these cookbooks. What pages in the resource directory for the cookbooks? Hang on, Jane. To the printout. There's 2 sections of cookbooks, if you can believe that. One section of cookbooks on page 489 is called Cooking Up Some Games. The other section of cookbooks is on page 492, and it's called Game-Themed Cookbooks. So what the difference is, I'm not sure, but both those sections are there. So take a look at those. The other thing I loved, this one might be hard to find in print, but I thought it was such a cute way to engage people. If you've got a cookbook club or maybe some reluctant gamers, this is a whole cookbook dedicated to building games out of food and eating them. The 2 things I love the most, games and eating, and you just get to eat the game. So tell this to the monsters from that picture book, do not eat the game. But this was a fun one. I hope you can find it in print somewhere. It is also available on Kindle, but I thought it was really cute. There is a couple of different sections of adult fiction in the resource guide. There's one section called Puzzle and Game Fiction, and there's also one called Video Game and Virtual Reality Fiction. There are classics on this list, like I mentioned, Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, which is a book I had forgotten about. Ready Player One, obviously, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is a truly beautiful story. It's very popular a few years ago, but I'm not going to talk about those all right now, but here's a quick book talk of 3 of these titles. The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers, I actually think this might have come up when Marianne and I had chatted about adult programming. This was a super, just lovely story about a young man who is sort of dealing with figuring out who he was as a baby, left on the doorstep of a communal living situation called the Fellowship of Puzzle Makers. He himself is no good at puzzles, but as sort of her dying wish to him, the chief puzzle maker in her will has left him clues as to his identity. The blurb on the back, I think, calls it pure joy. That is true. A story about love and family and what it means to find your people. It's just a really, really lovely story. The Last Checkmate is from 2021. It was a debut novel for our author here, Gabrielle Saab. First person narrative. I'd say this is it's a World War II story about a young Polish resistance fighter, chess prodigy who gets sent to Auschwitz. And through a series of events, the sort of camp director, truly horrible individual, learns that she's a chess prodigy and sort of keeps her alive so that he can play chess against her. And over the course of the years she's in the camp, she starts working towards his downfall. So a really strong female character lead here. World War II, always a compelling backdrop to a story. I'm going to be honest that I found the dialogue a little stilted in the way that historical fiction can tend to be sometimes, but Queen's Gambit fans, other World War II strong female lead fans are going to really love this. I saw a little love for The Puzzle Master in the chat. This came out in 2023. There's actually a second book in the series now. I learned it came out last year called The Puzzle Box. But here we have a Dan Brown, Robert Langdon sort of protagonist. His name is Mike Brink. Long story short, he is a savant, and he gets drawn into a murder investigation in this book. He's trying to solve a mysterious sort of biblical-based puzzle from the 13th century. I think you can get the Dan Brown vibes there. Under constant threat, the blurb says he becomes obsessed with the puzzle and with freeing the murder accusee. So this is really fast-paced, a really detailed plot, lots of suspense, real-life locations, a really good sense of place. I think your thriller fans are going to really enjoy this one. There are also a couple of different sections of nonfiction adult titles that will be great for displays. Video game nonfiction and puzzle and game nonfiction. So really quick, The Puzzler. This is from the gentleman that brought us The Year of Living Biblically. So in this one, he has the quest to solve the most baffling puzzles ever, from crosswords to jigsaws and the meaning of life. So each chapter is sort of based on a different type of puzzle, and throughout that whole chapter, there are different examples of that puzzle that the reader can kind of solve, including the answers to all of them, which I really appreciated because I can be a little bit lazy with some of this. But I think this would make a really fun like summer read, bring it to the beach, think about the riddles, think about the puzzles. Really, really fun. I've got two different board game histories here. The first one, All a Game, had really short chapters, very readable. I thought it was really engaging. And then the second one to the far right there is Board Games in 100 Moves. This was much more visual, a sort of more map through the history of board games. A lot of popular favorites. I didn't really learn any new games through this one, but it was really fun to read. The last adult book I want to highlight before we fly through some display ideas was this really fun one by Jordan Miner called Video Game of the Year, a guide to the best, boldest, and most bizarre games since 1977. And in a nod to my college days, I chose the best video game from 2007, which he decreed to be Rock Band over Call of Duty 4. I was excited to see this. These really fun illustrations here by Ren McDonald. This was for me just truly nostalgic. There were some off the beaten path games, but also some big name games. So lots of nostalgia and lots of learning. This was just a really fun title to browse through. Wow, we've got 6 minutes left. We've got some display ideas. Keep throwing stuff in the Padlet. I do see I have one post here. An adult book recommended. Everyone in my family has killed someone, and Padlet says this may contain violent content. But I'm going to go ahead and approve it because that's, I think, sounds like a fun title. I did come across that one as well. So, okay, Janeé, displays, what do you got?
Yeah, so for display and decor ideas, you want to check pages 45 through 62 in the Getting Started portion of the resource guide. I repeat, pages 45 through 62 in the Getting Started portion of the resource guide. So next slide, please. These are just some display ideas that you could do in your library. And this is an example of an I Spy passive display where you put different items see-through in a see-through container and you find items to create the game. Your Lego displays, if you have a Lego club and the kids make creations, putting those on display and letting the kids see their creations. Some of you, when you saw me for the Summer Reading Summit, you saw the Connect 4 display. That's on page 57, where I took a poster board and some uh, painter's tape and the plates, the red and yellow plates from the Dollar General store, and you can do an interactive, fun game of Connect 4. You can do that on the floor, or you could have it up on a board. But these are just some fun display ideas. Next slide, please. Bulletin boards. If some of you have bulletin boards, these were some cool bulletin boards I found on Pinterest. The first one is from the Scrabble using the Scrabble tile. It says books make us, and then there's different words: happy, believe, laugh, dream. There is a you can use on Canva. There is a Scrabble tile Canva image that you can use on Canva. So if you're looking for Scrabble tiles, go on Canva and you can type in Scrabble and you can use Scrabble tiles to make for a bulletin board display. They also have I Spy with My Little Eye, where you just put different items up on a board and have the kids get a sheet and they have to try to find those items. That could be another way of using your bulletin board. And just some decor tips from iREAD. Think about bright colors, bright, bold colors. Think about how you can transform your library into a place of exploration. If you have a dramatic play area for kids, consider changing up your dramatic play area. What could they do in that area to play? Next slide, please. Here's some book display ideas. On to your left, there's a Twister book display where they have different color books like the different color dots. I thought that was cute. In the middle, there's an escape reality and read display where you're escaping reality, and they have different books about escape rooms, escaping into video game fiction or nonfiction. That's in the middle. And then on the side, there's a Pac-Man display, gobble up a good book. They just made Pac-Man out of the painter's tape. And then the dots, and in between the dots, there's books and the characters from Pac-Man. Don't be afraid to check Pinterest. Pinterest has a plethora of ideas. I put the link to the iRead board for iRead, so that way, if you're needing more ideas, check out Pinterest and check out their iRead board. Do kids these days know Pac-Man? You know what? Some do, some don't, but that's a great way to teach them that, hey, Pac-Man was an old game back in the 80s, Amy. Absolutely. These are all teachable moments for kids. There's some display ideas for sports books. Again, these are from Pinterest. Score with a good book on the one side with all the nonfiction and fiction titles, and the other display, score big with books, a mix of nonfiction titles. So these are just some ways to display ideas for sports books. And your games. Here's some game display ideas. I love the two at the end where it says get in the game read, where they're displaying game books. Or this is a great opportunity to display your games that you have for checkout. Play games at your library. You could put a mix of books about games and some board games that you have for checkout at your library. So that's something to consider as well. All these Padlets. I love it.
Yeah. Well, oh, my hair. There's also a Padlet column for display ideas if you've got something you're working on. So that's one more time. We're completely out of time, but we do also want to promote our summer author visits that are happening again this summer. Registration is going to open for that next week. But these are great events to add to your summer calendars, promote them to your book clubs, promote them to your patrons. Get together a viewing party. Janeé and I learned of one librarian this week who bought 12 copies of Jawbreaker to the first, as prizes for the people who are going to come see Christina on June 18. So it will be, these are always fun events, and it will be so great to have a good audience for our All Iowa Reads authors. Janeé has a prize pack. We don't have a
Yes.
ton of time. I'm so jealous of whoever gets Little Blue Truck and Racer Red. We're on hold for this one. We can't wait to read it. It's going to be so fun. Lots of great stuff here. So we'll
Yes,
go at the attendees and we'll grab a name.
yes, and these are all books that relate to the Level Up at Your Library theme. So definitely make sure you have your first and last name. We don't know Library 1 or Mount Pleasant 2. Make sure you put your first and last name and what library you're from. So, and the pack will be sent via Iowa Shares.
Yep, I think I've got everyone's attendance, so we'll be sure to get somebody. And then lastly, thank you. It's 11 o'clock on the dot. We flew through a few dozen titles.
Yes, we
I hope you got,
did.
and the display ideas. I hope you got some good ideas for the summer. If nothing else, get your wheel turning about some books you might want to pull off the shelf and make displays throughout the summer for your patrons to enjoy. But thank you everyone for attending. Thanks, Janeé, for dialing in here, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Ooh.